What's good, Buffs Nation? What's good? We got to chop it up with our guy, Drake Toll, over there at Locked On Big 12 to get the Big 12 perspective on how they feel about Colorado this season and the trajectory that they're going. Drake dropped some dimes in there, man. Some pretty good info that I did not realize, while at the same time, he had to eat a little bit of crow. So let's listen to Drake and let's talk about the Buffs here on the prime time for college football. We're hanging out with Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12. Thank you, Drake, for pulling up with us today. Let's talk about Travis Hunter. Some of these Colorado players that we've seen. That's a good topic for the day.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter has been eating. First player in Big 12 history to win Offensive Player of the Week and Defensive Player of the Week in the same season. He just recently got Offensive Player of the Week because of his great performance against Cincinnati. Drake, do you think there's a chance in one of these last 4 games that Travis Hunter can get Offense and Defensive Player of the Week in the same week?
Yeah, how crazy is it that we're talking about a Heisman Trophy race that features Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Ashton Jonty, Cade Klubnik, Carson Beck, Jackson Dart, Garrett Nussmeier. The last time I checked, Jay, every single one of those players that I just named have played one side of the football the entire season. We've got a guy in the Big 12, a guy from Colorado, that's playing both sides of the ball and winning Conference Player of the Week on both sides of the ball and doing something that I'm not sure any major analyst projected, and that's becoming a wide receiver 1 option for Colorado. For me in the preseason, Jimmy Horn Jr., that was the guy. Shedeur to Jimmy Horn Jr., we're not going to overwork Travis Hunter, who is an elite defensive back, but instead he's gotten to step into a role where he can be that wide receiver 1 at any given point in time. And the durability, sure, he's been banged up a bit, but it's the fact that he's right back there the next week. Even if he's not 100%, he's still taking snaps, typically on both sides of the ball, and becoming an instant impact playmaker no matter who Colorado plays. There isn't a Heisman race. There's one player who's doing something no one else in college football has done at this level in decades. His name is Travis Hunter, and he's the winner of the Heisman Trophy this season and puts Colorado in a position to win any game they play, whether that's against Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, or any Big 12 team. When you got a player at that elite of a level, you've at least got a shot.
So why is it that Shadur Sanders isn't in the Heisman Trophy conversation? He's like 6th in college football in passing yards, 3rd in touchdowns, and he's, the straw that, stirs the drink there for Colorado. You can tell that the offense completely runs through him. The run game hasn't been the greatest, so everything has been leaning on his shoulders, but overall, he's not really even being considered for it. Is Travis Hunter hurting Shadur Sanders' bid for Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, it's very tough to have 2 guys on the same team that get the same level of hype in the matter of a season. And I've got to be honest with you, Jay. This is the way the Big 12 goes to an extent. If Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders were in the SEC, no brainer. They're both in the top 5. No brainer, they're both in the top 5. The Big 12 just doesn't get the level of exposure that the Southeastern Conference does or the level of exposure that the Big 10 does. And sometimes that's warranted, but here it's hurting one of the best players in college football. So we keep saying, oh, wow, Shadur Sanders is a Heisman caliber quarterback. He should be in the Heisman running without a doubt right now, especially in conference where he's completing 75.4% of his passes. Despite still being under pressure, he's been sacked 25 times. The kid's taking hits. Offensive line's getting better. It's still not there yet. Shadur Sanders has put up with some mean defenses. I go back to that Baylor game where they couldn't keep the Bears out of the backfield, and Shadur still went and won you the football game and still has such a great stat line in conference play. He's got to be in the I just don't get how the kid can't be in New York if he continues on this trajectory the rest of the way and puts his team at least in the conversation of a playoff bid.
Yeah, and that's a good segue into the playoffs fully. Now we know that Colorado is, we talked about this before, there's a good chance they're on the outside looking in when it comes to the Big 12 championship game. Totally understand that. That happens. And the way that the playoffs are set, it really does feel like that the first 8 spots are going to be given to the Power 4 playoff, the champion, conference champion, and the runner-up.
Maybe,
Feels like that's how it's going to line up. So from there, you got 4 at-larges. You're going to give one to Notre Dame. We know that. So that gives you 3. You got to give it to a G6, I guess they're called now.
Yeah.
You got to give it to their highest-ranked dude. That leaves 2 spots left in the at-large bid. Can Colorado make an argument to get in for one of those last 2 spots over maybe another Big Ten team or another SEC team? Can they make an argument if they finish this year 10-2?
Yeah, I have heard that from multiple analysts that 10-2 Colorado will likely get in over a 10-2 SEC team. Barrett Salee said that on my show this week on Locked On Big 12. Reason being, they won't let 5 SEC teams in. They won't let 5 in this year because that conference has been down and beaten itself up. And then from the standpoint of where Colorado sits in the Big 12, if Kansas State goes 11-1 to the Big 12 championship, BYU goes 12-0, and you see Kansas State beat BYU in Arlington, avenge their loss in Provo, work with me here. Now we're looking at 12-1 Kansas State, 12-1 BYU. I point at Colorado and say, hey, the only 2 teams they lost to, top 25 at the time, Nebraska, and a Kansas State team was in the college football playoff. I think that 10-2 Colorado team gets in over 11-1 Iowa State because, as we talked about, this is a human-led game. These college football playoff committee members are looking at the resources of a school, how many eyeballs will be on the CFP, and their jobs are directly affected by how successful this 12-team playoff is. With that in mind, holding Colorado out if they're a 10-win regular season team is going to be tough to do.
Yeah, and honestly, as you laid it out so eloquently, that's probably one of the dumbest things you could possibly do, right? It's to pass on the opportunity of putting a Colorado team into the playoffs that's 10-2 and only lost to, one ranked team and the other one that has been up and down throughout the season. Yeah, there is a compelling argument. The question's going to be, would they really put them in over an 11-1 Iowa State or an 11-1 BYU for the eyeballs, which I can see the political aspect of it. Those guys will bring we all know Buffs fans and Buffs Nation are the fan base that people watch Colorado because they love Prime in Colorado, or they watch Colorado because they hate Prime and they want to see him fail. So there's probably more hate watchers for Colorado than there is any other team in the country today.
No doubt.
And now that they're bowl eligible, it really threw a wrench in a lot of their talk tracks of, they probably won't even make it to a bowl game this year. They're going 4-8 again. And look at this, 6-2 already. And honestly, with the perfect beeline to the championship. So, Drake, you got to give me your prediction on this. Do you think Colorado finishes this season 10-2? Can they sweep these final 4 games against a reeling Texas Tech who's lost, the last 2 to 3 games?
Yeah.
Utah, who fired their offensive coordinator. Kansas, who ever since Koltonicky left, they don't look like the same Kansas team. And they're also not playing in Lawrence. They're playing at Arrowhead. So it's probably really weird for them. And then Oklahoma State, who has been probably the biggest dumpster fire in Big 12 history because they bring back the most players outside of Iowa State, and they suck. Can Colorado close it out?
20 of 22 starters for Oklahoma State, and they're terrible. Coming back from a 10-win team. Jay, I'll call it. Colorado plays 3 of these 4 who are below 500 in the Big 12, and the Buffs win all 4, including that game against Texas Tech, because the Red Raiders are reeling 10-2, and it makes it very hard for the committee to not at least look at the Buffs and Deion Sanders and what a smashing success this year was in Boulder. I can only hope, and I do think it will be the case, that Deion comes back and Colorado is a force to be reckoned with in 2025 as well.
I love to hear it, Drake. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12. Let the people know where they can find you, where you at on social media, and all of that real quick.
Yeah, at Drake C. Toll on Twitter, at LO Big 12 on Twitter as well, and then wherever you find your podcasts, at Locked On Big 12. Pull it up on the old YouTube, and you'll find a ton of Colorado content from this week as the Buffs, they're contenders. We're going to buy Deion Sanders and company. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks for joining us. Thank y'all for pulling up. Make sure you check out Drake Toll over there at Locked On Big 12. He's dropping some dimes on a regular basis. And, he shows some Colorado love on there. So check him out. Link is in the description below, and follow him on the social medias. Make sure you check out the latest video here. Talk to Phillip Dukes. Always some good stuff. And make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss anything else that drops from us.